Okay, in this video, what I'm going to do is talk about the um, tool palette and the main properties dialog box and how having those set up with all of the blocks that you will use and utilizing the properties along with that, how useful those two can be. Okay, now my tool palette I have, if I right click, I have it set to auto hide and anchor to the left, as well as the properties dialog box here at the bottom. And again, it's set to anchor to the left and set to auto hide. Now, if you haven't utilized the tool palette as much as I do, this is why I feel like this to me is probably one of the most beneficial aspects of AutoCAD because I can actually build a drawing from blocks of information and or objects. So it allows you to, rather just drawing with lines and text and notations and stuff like that, anything that is very repetitious within the drawing process, you want to automate that as much as possible. And so you can see how many different tabs I have here. So let's start with the symbols, for instance. I have one, two, three, four different tabs. And depending on the items here, that's how I have them set up. Now, in order for something to be on this tool palette, it has to be a block or a command that is utilized here. In this particular case, these walls are made from the double line command. And I'll show you that in another totally separate video because that takes a little time to explain how to do this. These are all the same command and just customized to draw walls at a specific width so that you can begin drawing those walls more quickly rather than having to draw a bunch of lines and offset them. Not that I don't utilize that sometimes. However, this is very helpful when you want to just rough out a bunch of walls at specific widths. And then there's some sections that go along with that, and then some hatch patterns too. So starting with the symbols here, you can have them grouped, and I'm going to show you how to actually add blocks to the tool palette and then how to actually set up a cell. And I'll do that from scratch so that way you can see why these show the way they do as opposed to perhaps when you first drag a block to it. So if I right click on this tab, I can actually say new palette. And if I open that back up again after it allows it to, okay, now you'll see that there's a new tab here. And if I right click again, I can move it up to the top and that way it's at the top there. Or I can just keep moving it down until I find a place where I want it to be. In this case, it's just a demonstration, so it doesn't matter and I'll remove it. However, let's go into model space here. Now, if I wanted to drag this cabinet block here onto the tool palette, it's a WCSWA. Or if I want to drag, say for instance, this wall cabinet onto the tool palette, I'm going to use this one because I think this is probably a nice section. There's a little bit more detail in this section that probably will not show up here in this area. And that's why I don't have these sections on the tool palette, whereas I do have the cabinet blocks here on the tool palette. If I go down to standard wall cabinets, they are here. So I'm going to go to the new one just to show you what it looks like when you first add it. So if I press down on this with my left button, my mouse, and drag it over to the tool palette and leave it there, you'll notice it comes up and it's really small. If I go over here to the standard, let's see our standard wall cabinets, you'll see it's a little bit bigger here. And the reason being is that you right click in this area and you can, let's see here, right click on the tab view options, and I maximize the size. And I also want to see both the icon with the text, not just a list view or just the icon. I want both of those two. So if I hit OK and go back here, now you see how big it is. It shows the object image and the text. And that's what you want to see. And then from that point on, if I drag, let's say, for instance, this base cabinet onto the tool palette, now I don't have to do that same thing again to the tab because it's now set up with the default settings. So now everything will come in at the largest size and it will come in as the image and the text. Now you can add separators in here, for instance, there to group certain blocks together as I have on my standard, let's see here. This is it right here. You can see I grouped the wall cabinets and then I grouped the fillers that go with the wall cabinets. And then these are the blocks that show these cabinets in the plan itself. And then in addition, some a corner. So that's kind of like I'm actually can add this text in here too. It's just like adding a separator. So if I go back to hours, I can add some text into here and I can type in whatever I want and that labels it. I can actually bring this up here and put it at the top and now it can label, whatever you want it to say. So those are the three things I think that are important about it. Dragging it to it, and setting it up with the right click here, going to view options and setting it up to large and text and icon, and then adding separators and text in here. And you can probably customize it a lot more than that, but that's probably as far as I want to take it for this demonstration so I can get through the rest of it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this out of here since I don't need it. So with these being added to the tool palette, if you have a category like I do where I have the standard wall cabinets here, I can easily just start dragging these blocks in. It asks me what the finish is. I can type in whatever that finish is, and then I can begin by stretching the cabinets. Now, I can, when you see over here, this is an item I'm going to come up in another video, but I can explain a little bit here. This is a quick properties dialog box here, and that's turned on down here at the bottom. It's got a check mark next to it. So whatever I select on in this, whether it's a line, some text, a block, it's going to give me this dialog box. Now I can change lots of different features about that based on the parameters and actions that I had set up within this particular block. Again, that's another video altogether, but I can change the width, I can change the height, I can change the text here. That's the finish to whatever I want it to be. Because these are all the same block, I can go in and I can change all of them at the same time. And now they update. I can change the height of all these. If I select on all of these wall cabinets, you'll notice that the height is 30, cabinet height. I can change them all to 36 and it updates. So that's a nice feature. Let me take it back to 30. I can take this back to DLX for the finish. Actually, let's make them all capitalized here. DLX. Okay, I can change the width by coming over here and changing it in the width factor to 36, or I can just stretch it till I get to it, but it's more accurate to put a number in here. So that's that. I'll undo that aspect of it. So any of these blocks are all set up with the finishes in them at the same point. So if I select on any of these, I can change all the finish at one point. So you can see how I can start building a drawing just with the blocks that I have put on here. And everything pretty much in this drawing, aside from the text and perhaps some of the annotation, are blocks that I drag in here. Even some of these dimensions here you can see are blocks, and they're just made so that I don't have to go in and dimension it and then dimension it, dimension it. It's just I just drag it right off here, off the tool palette. And the same thing with the front dimension. And then I have some custom leaders in here. And again, these are commands that are part of AutoCAD, but I've customized them. And again, that's another video that I would show you how those are created. I created custom images for these buttons so that you would see what those look like when you want to find that specific type of leader. So for instance, this is a plan leader, which you would see in in a reference plan, which I don't have a demonstration or a video of that, but this one here is used in the sections right here, or if I go to this page, you'll see them used in a full size detail for the reference of a full size detail here. So that's there. So anyway, you can see quickly by having all these different blocks onto your tool palette, how quickly you can start building a drawing from that. All right, now quickly here with the properties, just like with the quick properties, when I select on an object, this one is abbreviated version of this, but I can change all kinds of things about that particular um, any particular item in here. So if I were to select on this cabinet section here, I could go to and I can see all the parameters actions here. I can find some other miscellaneous things. I can change the X and Y and Z axis positioning of it. I can change the color, the layer, the line type, the line weight in here. So you can change a lot more than what you would do over here. I don't have a tendency to change that much about these blocks from this area. I do change them over here, but having that set up, you can have access to when you do need to use it. When you're changing dimensions and stuff like that. So it's just a great tool to have. But like I said, all these are blocks, even the title block frames here in um, model space. This blue line is representative of this viewing area, the viewable area of your title block. So it does not include this. But the good thing is, if I'm in model space, this title block allows me to basically change it to whatever it will scale to whatever size title block that I need, so that when I come into paper space and try to pull it through a viewport, it is automatically scaled to that size. So that's that. There's a whole lot more I can explain to you, but I think for now that's what as far as I want to take it.